The fact that there is a screen around planet Earth to keep people from getting out of here and to mess up people when they come in to help has become a new topic on the net, so I'm going to tell you what I know about it. Parallel to the mainstream of research on densities and currently extending to the sixth density, an extremely important side activity took place between June and November 92 when a researcher, contacted and analyzed the screen. Due to his efforts, the screen became known for what it is, and only after he had managed to deprogram the screen did first-timers appear, missionaries and tourists who had traversed the screen on their way to Earth and could debrief in detail on its content. The researcher found the screen to agree in principle with the description of it being a standing wave. It is a layer or perhaps a grid of standing waves containing a high portion of scalar waves and vibrating at around 2 gigahertz, between 1.6 and 2.2 gigahertz. It seems to consist of plasma spirals working in opposing directions, thus giving stability to the construction. There are about 49 grid crossings per square meter, making the whole thing look like a honeycomb. Each cell has 6 sides and is some 300 meters deep. So that's how thick the whole screen is. The cells contain a copying mechanism and a device for follow-up programming whenever needed. As a whole, the screen consists of a large number of entities resonating at a frequency sympathetic to a spirit. So we would consider this a familiar structure and not notice it, like one were getting into a bathtub with its water at exact body temperature. Anytime a spirit contacts one of the honeycomb cells, the cell empties its energy-embedded content on him, whereupon the surrounding cells immediately feed energy to the depleted place and smooth out the irregularity. The spirit, on contacting the screen, will identify with whatever it evokes in him and become forgetful of his own past. There is something eternal about the whole event, a never-changingness, as it were. A further purpose of the screen is the coupling of a spirit with a genetic entity. Inside the screen, as its lining and facing the surface on Earth, one finds the genetic entity pool for this planet. As the spirit approaches the screen, the genetic entities wake up and attach themselves to him through a resonance process triggered by the spirit himself. The screen was put there by 78 production robots just before the second fall of man. The project was kept an extreme secret. The PR line fed to Earth's population said that a detection and defense shield was being installed around the Earth. The destruction of the screen was initiated by feeding a counter program through one particular point. As the screen structure is equipped with an instant copying and distributing mechanism, a computer virus seemed to be the way to destroy it. The plan was to put attention on one of the honeycomb cells, thereby trigger it into action, and by taking advantage of the usual screen mechanism, drain the surrounding cells of their energy content. Draining them was achieved by simply spotting and acknowledging the information of the cells neighboring the one addressed when they sprang into action, thereby temporarily exhausting them. It had already been found by the researcher that a small time lag occurred before the automatic repair and refill programs of the cells next to the emptied ones would cut in. This time lag was used for counter-programming the screen. The first step, as we saw, was emptying a central cell and its surrounding ones of their content. What was put in there was the game of Prison Planet Earth is over, and the two rights of a spirit are about to be reestablished, which is you have the right to your self-determinism and the right to leave any game. You may return to your creator and dissolve into nothingness, or be free to do whatever you like. You have played this game very well, but you don't have to be the screen any longer. Simultaneously, a wave impulse was started in the central cell towards all of the 6 cell walls and the neighboring cells, diffusing the information evenly to all sides. Thus, the copy mechanism was set off in an outward motion away from the central cell and began to spread the instructions all across the screen. Of course, this took several repetitions and a lot of unwavering intention, but it seemed to work. The counter program began to run by itself, permeating the screen. The final checkup on this was done in November 1992, and the eraser process found to be running on its own. The deprogramming of the screen seemed to be complete. Throughout October, a number of researchers reported feeling pressed down by something gooey like honey, and that it evoked the sort of masses one knew from being suppressed. It turned out that the screen, as its cells were dripping out, released a final restimulative potential, which of course was noticeable to those who habitually extended their space up into that region. In January 1993, a researcher who knew nothing of this operation called in to tell me that she had encountered 2 visitors in her last channeling session who asked her something. They were clothed in energy bodies only, having left their solid bodies on their space vessel parked somewhere outside the 26.5 kilometer zone. They commented that moving in and out seemed easier than before. A curious little incident occurred during this action of deprogramming the screen. During the 5 months of his operation, the researcher occasionally felt acknowledged by the Galactic Council. This in itself is not sensational. Acknowledgements have never been a rarity. To carry on with the curious little incident, on October 17, 1992, the researcher perceived the Galactic Control main ship very far away, pretty much at the edge of our solar system. He saw it as a huge sphere of more than 200 kilometers, 201.6 kilometers in diameter. Its inside coated with an atmosphere 5.3 kilometers thick, containing machinery, workspace, offices, housing, etc. Towards the center of the atmosphere thins out. Rotation of the sphere creates the gravity needed for one to walk about on its inside. Nothing curious about this either. A number of people who didn't know about the researcher's activities perceived the M ship at that time. The curious part of the story is this. Months after his observation in January 1993, The researcher learned from the papers that in November 1992, the Max Planck Institute in Heidelberg, Germany, had by means of their telescope in Spain photographed, in quotation marks, the most distant body in our solar system ever observed, end of quote. 1992 QB1, as it was called, had originally been discovered by a Hawaiian telescope in August 1992 and was estimated to be moving in an orbit beyond that of Pluto, the furthest planet of our solar system, more than 6 billion kilometers away. It was considered to be one of the hypothetical small planets at the far edge of the solar system and to have a diameter of 1 to 200 kilometers. So why look through telescopes when you can get your data by telepathy and exteriorization?